The deep ocean is a true mystery, an endless expanse of water, most of which remains unexplored. Despite all our advancements, we've only scratched the surface of what lies beneath. One thing we do know is that the ocean is teeming with life, and every new expedition reveals fascinating, unknown species. But sometimes, diverse uncover things that defy explanation. From a long-lost warship to a chilling discovery in Red Sea, here are the 20 strangest things found by deep-sea divers. Number 20. SS Thistlegorm. The British cargo steamship SS Thistlegorm was built in northeast England in 1940. In 1941, German bomber planes sank the ship in the Red Sea. Her shipwreck is now a popular diving spot near Ras Mohammed. The marine life around the wreck is amazing. Batfish, a unique turtle that lives there, barracudas, snappers, and schools of jacks can be seen every day. Most divers agree that the SS Thistlegorm wreck is one of the best places to dive in the whole world. It's in the Strait of Gubal, which is north of the Red Sea. After a German attack in 1941, tragically, it went down because there were so many artifacts that went down with it, like locomotives, tanks, army trucks, and jeeps. It takes more than one dive to see the whole wreck. The fore is in water that's 30 meters deep, the props are about 32 meters deep, and that is the deepest part. The most shallow part is only 16 meters deep. In September 1941, the SS Thistlegorm was going to Egypt. She was taking war supplies to the British 8th Army in North Africa, which really needed them at that point. At this very important time in the war, the Germans and the Italians pretty much ran the seas and the skies of the Mediterranean. That meant it was much too dangerous for the Allied merchant ships to take the quickest and shortest ways to go to Egypt. So, the SS Thistlegorm had to go about 12,000 miles out of its way just to go around South Africa and get to the Suez. But even this didn't work. The place where she went down in the Red Sea is now a maritime tomb. Number 19. Haunted Maya underwater cave holds human bones. Marine archaeologists have been investigating a sinkhole in southern Mexico that's feared by locals. They discovered a flooded tunnel with human skulls and other bones that seem to have been stretched out. To sum up the feeling of this find in a single adjective, eerie. Sac-Actin, the name of the cenote, is located in the heart of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The Maya intentionally altered their appearance at birth, creating larger foreheads and sharper angles to their heads. Maybe they were making an effort to resemble their alien buddies. This was done in a variety of ways by numerous pre-Hispanic civilizations. Some did it at infancy, while others wrapped cloth tightly over their adolescent children's heads to get a certain look. It's pretty terrifying, to be honest. Now, we've uncovered all these underwater deformed skulls and bodies, but the reason these people were there remains a mystery. Since most Maya Peninsula residents were interred either beneath or close to their homes, this was no ordinary cemetery. Unfortunately, the past is where the truth stays buried for the time being. Number 18. Golden Shipwreck. Near a famous old Spanish galleon, 2 undiscovered shipwrecks were found recently. They were full of gold worth $17 billion. The British sank the 3-masted galleon San Jose with 600 people on board in 1708 during the War of Spanish Succession. The ship had 62 guns and 3 masts. It was found in 2015, and the gold and other treasures inside are worth billions of dollars. The Colombian government just got a video showing high-tech equipment being lowered to the bottom, where a cannon can be seen. Other things, like a lot of clay pots, can also be found all over the beach. Even though the sea life is trying to take over, the bow of one of the ships looks to be in great shape. Images taken by a remote-controlled vehicle show the ship on the bottom, but the sand hasn't yet covered it up. Closer inspection shows there's a lot of artifacts, like teacups and other things, on the bottom near the cannons that are ready to be studied. In addition to the galleon's cannons, artifacts found at the San Jose shipwreck include handmade coins called macaquinas, a gold ingot, and crew weapons. Number 17. Qiandao Lake in China. A city that was built around 1,300 years ago is now between 26 and 40 meters deep underwater. In 1959, the city and valley were flooded intentionally so a man-made lake and a hydroelectric power plant could be built. It's now hoped that it will become a unique place to go diving. Surprisingly, the city hasn't changed much. The houses, walls, and even the woodwork have all stayed the same. A film crew has been making a movie about the old city. An archaeologist can't believe how well Shurcheng has stayed intact. But there are no places for tourists to dive just yet. Hopefully, the area will be open to the public in the future. The man-made Qiandao Lake, also called Thousand Island Lake, is nevertheless a popular place for tourists and locals to spend time. The hills are truly beautiful. About 300,000 people had to move when Lion City was intentionally flooded by the government to make room for the hydropower project. People used to think that Lion City was the most important ancient city in China that was still standing. The stone buildings were built during the Ming and Qing dynasties, and the people in that time could surely never have imagined its fate. Number 16. Yonaguni Monument. About 25 meters below the surface of the water in Japan's seas is a cool rock pyramid. No one knows who built it or when, but it's there, and you can explore it if you can. It's called the Yonaguni Monument. Between the Kamchatka Peninsula and the Chinese island of Taiwan, which is about 4,000 kilometers away, lies this Japanese archipelago. Yonaguni Island is the most southwestern part of Japan. It's only about 100 kilometers from Taiwan. It's a small island with just about 1,700 people living on it, but it's famous for its hammerhead sharks. In 1986, the Yonaguni Monument in Japan was found. The local tourist board went looking for hammerhead sharks but found the Yonaguni Monument instead. It's well known that Japan is a place where tectonic plates move around a lot. It's close to where the Pacific and Philippine plates meet, so 10 of the world's active volcanoes can be found there. In this area, there's a lot of earthquakes. The sandstone rock layer that covers Yonaguni has been badly broken by earthquakes. A person working for a tourist company dove into the water and found this structure. Then, when he surfaced, he told people that he found what looked like an underwater castle made by ancient humans. Now it's time for today's topic. A recent scientific expedition exploring a shipwreck deep in the Red Sea has led to an astonishing discovery: a giant, otherworldly sea creature that defies all known classifications. The footage, captured by a team of marine biologists, shows a massive, gelatinous being with a bulbous head, haunting eyes, and appendages that seem to flow like ribbons in the water. Its eerie, humanoid-like grin has left scientists baffled and the internet buzzing. The discovery occurred while the team was investigating an ancient shipwreck believed to have sunk centuries ago. As their submersible's lights illuminated the wreck, the mysterious creature emerged from the shadows, moving gracefully yet menacingly. The scientists estimate its size to be over 20 feet long, with a translucent body that reveals faint, pulsating organs within. Some speculate this could be a previously undiscovered species of deep-sea squid, while others believe it might be a rare type of siphonophore. Conspiracy theories, however, are running wild, with claims that it might be a biological anomaly or even evidence of extraterrestrial life. The footage has sparked debates among experts and enthusiasts alike, but for now, the creature remains a mystery, adding yet another enigma to the unexplored depths of the Red Sea. Number 15. Molinare Underwater Sculpture Park. The British artist Jason DeCaires Taylor made the Molinare Bay Underwater Sculpture Park. It's a collection of ecological underwater modern art that's off the west coast of Grenada in the West Indies. In May 2006, the first underwater art park in the world opened to the public. Taylor's sculptures, which are based on life casts of local people, were meant to show the locals what was going on under the water. He then put the concrete sculptures on the ocean floor. Most of them were people facing the ocean currents, with designs ranging from single people to a circle of children holding hands. The project started for the sculpture park in 2006, and it's on the sandy ocean bottom of the isolated Molinare Bay. Tourists now put less pressure on the coral reefs because of how much they love the sculpture park, so it's helped out the environment too. In the park, there's more than 65 different concrete sculptures. Together, they cover more than 800 square meters and weigh about 15 tons. In the air, they weigh 15 tons. In water, they don't weigh 15 tons. Number 14. Underwater Stonehenge. As a result of weeks of hot, dry weather throughout Europe during the summer of 2022, river and lake levels dropped to lows that few could recall. But this also unearthed some valuable resources, along with some unwelcome threats. Due to Spain's worst drought in decades, a prehistoric stone circle known as Spanish Stonehenge, that's normally submerged by water, was exposed. At least archaeologists are ecstatic about this development, but it's not ideal for those who need to drink water or take a bath. The water level in the Valdecañas Reservoir in the central province of Caceres plummeted to 28% of capacity, exposing a circle of stone known as the Dolmen of Guadalperal. Despite being discovered in 1926 by a German archaeologist Hugo Obermeier, the site was submerged in 1963 as part of an initiative to beautify rural areas under Francisco Franco's dictatorship. Similarly, the Danube, another major European river, saw one of its lowest levels in over a century due to the drought. More than 20 German battleships that went down in the area of the Serbian riverport town of Prahovo during World War II were uncovered as a result. There were hundreds more ships like this that the Nazi German Black Sea Fleet sank in 1944 as they fled the oncoming Soviet forces along the Danube. Even at low water levels, they continue to obstruct river movement, which could become a more serious issue for shipping in the future. And they're a ghostly reminder of a terrible war. Number 13. Pavlopetri. Pavlopetri is an underwater city off the coast of Laconia, in the Greek region of Peloponnese. It's about 5,000 years old, which makes it one of the oldest lost cities in the Mediterranean. Pavlopetri is unusual because it looks almost like a whole town. It has streets, houses, and tombs. Pavlopetri is between the islet of Pavlopetri and the Ponta coast of Laconia. It was found in 1967 by Nicholas Fleming, and a team of archaeologists from Cambridge studied it in 1968. The place is northeast of the settlement on the islands. At first, the ruins were thought to be from the Mycenaean period, which lasted from 1600 to 1100 BCE. However, further research showed that people lived there as early as 2800 BCE, so they also included early Bronze Age, Middle Minoan, and transitional materials. The first of 3 earthquakes that hit the area around 1000 BCE is thought to have caused the settlement to sink. Because the area never came back to life, it was never built on or ruined by farming. Even though the settlement has been weakened over time, it's not changed much. The monument is in danger, though, from boats that drag their anchors over it and from tourists and people who want to steal souvenirs from it. Number 12. Train Graveyard. Off the coast of Long Branch, New Jersey, there's a strange wreck that historians and train spotters don't fully understand. 2 steam locomotives were found at the bottom of the sea in 90 feet of water. They'd been there for almost 100 years. When divers first found this train wreck in the Atlantic, they didn't know where it came from or how it could have ended up there. Paul Hepler was using a magnetometer to look at the ocean floor in 1985 when he got 2 huge signals. It was clear that he had found something big and made of metal, but it was also clear that this wasn't a normal shipwreck site. Instead, there were 2 locomotives sitting proudly on the muddy bottom. Railroad fans were soon carefully looking at pictures, counting wheels, and studying the ruins of the smokestacks, all of which could tell them important things about the history of these trains. Because they were so small, the carriages at this underwater railway disaster site were identified as Class 222T locomotives, a rare breed that's mostly used in train yards and not for transportation. Still, nobody could figure out how they got there. No one knows if they got lost at sea or if a ship carrying locomotives went missing. Most people believe that the engines fell or were swept overboard during a storm when they were being shipped from Boston to New York. No one knows why the crew didn't say anything when they got to port about the 2 missing steam locomotives, though. Maybe it was just a big oopsie moment, and they hoped that no one would notice. Number 11. The Lost City of Heracleon. Some ancient inscriptions and books from centuries ago attest to the fact that the city of Titanic Heracleon lay, hidden for thousands of years, submerged beneath the waves. Frank Gaudio, a French archaeologist, and his team spent years searching the depths of Abu Qir Bay off the coast of Egypt before spotting a gigantic face emerging from the murky shadows. Gaudio had uncovered Titanic Heracleon, a submerged ancient city located 6.5 kilometers off the coast of Alexandria. There were modest sarcophagi for animal sacrifices there, as well as the remains of a massive temple dedicated to the deity Ammonius Jerub, complete with 64 ships, 700 anchors, a treasure trove of gold coins, and 16-foot-tall sculptures. Artifacts and ruins made of granite and diorite have survived almost completely intact for 2,300 years, giving us a glimpse into the life of one of the world's major port cities. Titanic Heracleon, the city's Egyptian and Greek names, served as the entry point for all ships entering Egypt. Designed like an Egyptian version of Venice, its canals connected little islands with sanctuaries and homes clustered around the city's central temple. No one knows what happened to cause this once great metropolis to be completely submerged, and its past is all but forgotten. Number 10. The Bimin Road. About 11,000 years ago, the island nation of Atlantis sank beneath the waves, never to be seen again, as the story goes at least. Since then, researchers, explorers, and philosophers have combed the ocean floor in vain, convinced that the ancient civilization is still partially intact below the surface. An explanation involving the Bermuda Triangle has already been proposed, so what else can we find? Several rocks were discovered by a scuba diver off the north shore of North Bimini Island in the Bahamas in 1968. The stones, which stretched for about a half-mile, appeared to have been placed there by humans and bore clear signs of uniformity and symmetry. Soon, people were discussing the significance of the find, with some speculating that the stones belonged to a wall or a road that once connected to a much larger metropolis. 2 other roads with comparable features were also discovered, fueling speculation that this was somehow connected to Atlantis. But looking at the blocks and doing carbon dating proved that the roadways were produced by natural geological forces, which was pretty disappointing. There were no signs that tools or evidence that the blocks had ever been placed into a structure. There is still some investigation and conjecture regarding Bimini in the present day, but most people think that the limestone blocks were formed by erosion. As a result, we're no closer to understanding if Atlantis was real, where it went, or if it ever existed, or anything about it. Number 9. Baltic Sea Anomaly. Some people think aliens made this 200-foot-wide object that was found on the floor of the Baltic Sea in 2011. Kinda looks like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Others say it's a shipwreck or anti-submarine equipment from World War II. It was found about 300 feet down. OceanX, which is based in Sweden, calls itself a treasure hunter and salvage company. In the summer of 2011, the team went on an expedition in the Baltic Sea between Sweden and Finland to look for an old shipwreck. When they got back, they had a blurry but interesting sonar image. They say their picture shows a round object with a diameter of 60 meters and features that looked like they could have been made by humans. The next year, the group went back to the site to get more detailed sonar scans. After a story in a tabloid newspaper in the UK came out in June 2012, a lot of wild theories became popular among the general public. The fact that the first strange structure isn't the only one makes things even more complicated. A second building has been found that looks like a monolith and is 90 feet long and 21 feet wide. Nearby, there are 3 peaks in a row. The tallest one is 40 feet, and they stand 60 feet apart. So what is this place? Maybe it's just how nature likes to tease us or how the aliens do. Number 8. Shark statue in Lake Neuchâtel. Some statues are just scary. One, in particular, would make anyone feel chills all over. It's a shark statue that's buried deep in a Swiss lake. This is enough to scare anyone swimming or diving in the lake if they weren't expecting it. Not much is known about how the shark statue came to be. It can be found at the bottom of Switzerland's Lake Neuchâtel, but no one knows how it got there. Divers who have encountered the statue often describe the eerie experience of coming face to face with it in the murky depths. The shark's lifelike teeth and cold, hollow eyes add to its unsettling vibe, making it seem almost alive. The way it looms silently in the water has led to comparisons with a scene straight out of a horror movie. Many locals speculate that the statue was deliberately placed there to spook unsuspecting divers or to add a unique underwater attraction. Over time, the statue has gathered algae and other aquatic growth, enhancing its creepy, weathered appearance. Despite its unsettling nature, the statue has gained a cult following, with many divers visiting the lake just to take a picture with it. Some even call it one of the most unusual and unexpected underwater sites in Europe. Some Redditors, though, have found out that it was made as a prop for a movie called Chocolat by the group La Jeunesse de la Côte. About 176 children and some adults worked together to make the movie. Even though we know it's just a statue, there's something undeniably creepy about how this shark looks. Number 7. Antira Mechanism. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, an archaeologist was digging through the wreckage of a ship that had sunk off the coast of the Greek island of Antira. With the wreck dating back 2,000 years, finds like vases, pots, diamonds, and a bronze figure of an ancient philosopher were among the riches recovered from the disaster. But there was also a strange system of brass gears and dials that was housed in a cabinet the size of a mantel clock. The Antira Mechanism is the name archaeologists have given to the device. The apparatus is now essentially just a pile of rusty brass gears sandwiched between 2 rotting wooden cases. Up close, you can make out at least 24 gears stacked precisely atop one another and calibrated with Swiss watch perfection. But there was still the nagging question of why this device had been constructed in the first place. Upon first inspection, the mechanism was identified by archaeologists as a clock, calendar, or mathematical device. However, they were still unsure about which one. For decades, scientists discussed whether or not the Antikythera was a miniature replica of the solar system. Might that have been an early form of an astrolabe? We weren't aware this technology existed until the 17th century, so how did the ancient Greeks have one? It's a real mystery. Number 6. Lithium. Israel has one of the oldest flooded towns in the world, which brings a lot of tourists who want to see beautiful underwater sites. Academics say that the ruins at Lithium are at least 9,000 years old. Along the shore of Haifa, you can see these magnificent ruins. A long time ago, it was a town that was pretty big and wealthy. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient stone structures, wells, and hearths that suggest the community was highly advanced for its time. The townspeople appeared to rely heavily on fishing and farming, as evidenced by tools and grains preserved under the sea. One of the most fascinating discoveries was a group of stone circles believed to have been part of a ceremonial site. These findings suggest that Lithium may have been not just a residential hub but also a spiritual center. The submerged ruins offer a rare glimpse into how early human civilizations adapted to and thrived near coastal environments. The coast of Haifa has a unique granular bottom that makes it easy for submerged buildings to survive. Researchers were able to find a completely intact old cemetery in the submerged city. Insects who lived there thousands of years ago were even found trapped in building materials. The main mystery of the Lithium ruins is where the flooding came from. Many academics think that melting glaciers and rising sea levels caused the settlement to slowly sink, while others say a huge tsunami did it. Since the submerged place was only found in 1984 and research is still in its early stages, experts are still waiting to find out many more important things about the area. Number 5. The Titanic. On the night of April 14, 1912, the RMS Titanic chugged through the cold waters of the North Atlantic Ocean. Its over 2,200 passengers were unaware of the danger waiting for them. Less than a week before, the luxury steamship had left Southampton, England, for New York City. At the time, it was the largest moving thing made by humans. People were really excited to ride in style and comfort. After all, the Titanic's first-class section was very fancy, and it had a heated pool, squash courts, and gourmet meals. There's even a special daily newspaper on the ship. But the Titanic was also made in a way that was unsafe. Some people, for example, think that a lot of the bolts that held the ship together were not very strong. The bottom of the boat wasn't made to handle big floods either, and there were only 20 lifeboats on the ship, which was only about enough for half the people on board. The Titanic hit an iceberg 4 days after it set sail. The iceberg tore a 300-foot hole in the ship's hull. As it started to flood, people rushed to get into the lifeboats. About 700 people would survive, and it would sink in less than 3 hours, taking many more to their deaths. Scientists and historians think that design flaws were the main reasons that the ship sank, but they still study the famous steamship to find out more. This has taken place since it was finally rediscovered in the 1980s. Number 4. River under the sea. In the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, under the Cenote Angelita Grotto, is an amazing underground river. This beautiful natural wonder occurs because of hydrogen sulfide. Since freshwater is heavier than saltwater, it sinks to the bottom of the river and forms a separate layer, making it a real underwater river with its layers of fresh and salty water. The Cenote Angelita River may go down more than 100 meters. The striking visual of the underwater river is often compared to something out of a fantasy movie, with its ethereal appearance captivating diverse. This unique phenomenon occurs due to the halocline effect, where the salinity gradient creates a clear boundary between fresh and salt water. Divers often describe the experience as surreal, as if they are flying through an alien landscape. The hydrogen sulfide layer gives off a misty, eerie appearance, adding a sense of mystery and wonder to the dive. Many adventurers who visit Cenote Angelita believe it's one of the most breathtaking and otherworldly spots they've ever explored. The weight of the water makes the leaves and the branches of nearby trees float only along the river's banks, which adds to the beauty of the river. Doline karst, which is the sinkhole phenomenon seen all over the world but especially in Central America, is often described as a cenote, which is the name for a cave with freshwater. The Mayans were very religious, and they used cenotes for religious ceremonies, including sacrificing people. Getting to this cave is not easy. It starts out with clean water for the first 20 meters, but it gets murkier as it goes. The cave dive goes as deep as 55 meters below the surface, so only experienced divers should try it. Number 3. Vampire squid. Nature went ahead and added a vampire squid to make things even crazier down in the depths. Its scientific name is Vampiroteuthis infernalis, which means vampire squid from hell. We're just telling you this so you know what kind of animal we're dealing with here. It's made up of parts of a squid and an octopus, but it's one of a kind. Let's be glad about that. Despite its eerie name, the vampire squid is actually a shy and harmless creature. It lives in the oxygen-deprived layers of the ocean, a place so deep and dark that few predators dare venture there. Its soft body and gelatinous texture make it perfectly adapted to the crushing pressure of the deep sea. The vampire squid's glowing photophores can also flash on and off in mesmerizing patterns, confusing predators in the pitch-black depths. In addition to its bioluminescent mucus, it has long, thread-like filaments to capture food particles floating in the water. Unlike its terrifying name suggests, this squid is more of a scavenger, cleaning up the ocean floor rather than hunting prey. It's an essential part of the deep-sea ecosystem, keeping the balance intact in the mysterious underwater world. It's got red eyes and dark webbing that looks like a vampire's cloak, but it isn't a vampire at all. It doesn't suck blood. It likes to eat dead animals instead. This critter is also cool because it has organs called photophores all over its body. These organs make light, so this thing lights up like a Christmas tree. They can also defend themselves by spitting out a cloud of bioluminescent mucus. I'm both intrigued and disgusted. Number 2. The Ghost Fleet of Truk Lagoon. The United States launched Operation Hailstone, which included an assault on Truk Lagoon during World War II. 36 hours were spent in combat at Truk Lagoon. In this conflict, the Imperial Japanese Navy ships that had been anchored in Truk Lagoon were sunk or destroyed. There were so many Japanese ships sunk at Truk Lagoon that they were given the nickname the Ghost Fleet because of the fate of their men. Now, you can explore the sunken ships of the Ghost Fleet in Truk Lagoon, Micronesia. Japanese forces were forewarned by information leaks about the impending US-led attack. In response, they withdrew the majority of their larger battleships from Truk Lagoon. Its massive aircraft carriers were among these. When the Japanese finally fully withdrew in February 1944, 53 ships had already been lost. In total, 32 commercial ships, 12 smaller Japanese cruisers, destroyers, and support ships were lost. Truk Lagoon is one of the best historical dive destinations in the world due to the abundance of Japanese airplanes, battle tanks, and other World War II relics, as well as the Japanese Navy ships that were wrecked there, leaving a creepy place to explore. Number 1. Silfur Crack. Silfra is a rift between the North American plate and the Eurasian plate, and it can be found in the Thingvellir National Park in Iceland. The rift and accompanying earthquakes can be traced back to 1789 when tectonic plates started to pull apart. In Silfra, you can go snorkeling and scuba diving not far off the receding point of the two continents, which is currently moving at roughly 2 centimeters every year. Snorkelers and scuba divers alike can enter a fissure in a tectonic plate at Silfra. You can't do this anywhere else on Earth. The experience of diving in Silfra is often described as surreal, with diverse feeling as though they are floating between two worlds. The vivid shades of blue and green created by sunlight filtering through the crystal-clear water make it feel like a magical underwater realm. Divers can even touch both tectonic plates at once, a rare opportunity that has earned Silfra a reputation as a bucket list destination. The underwater visibility, which often exceeds 120 meters, provides an unparalleled view of the fissure's intricate rock formations. The slow movement of the plates means the fissure is constantly evolving, offering a slightly different experience every year. There were many fissures generated by the 1789 earthquakes in Thingvellir, but the Silfur fissure is carved into an underground spring fed by the nearby Langjökull glacier. Water takes 30 to 100 years to seep through porous lava below the surface and reach the spring that supplies Silfra. The water is so clear in Silfra, even more than 100 meters below the surface, due to the constant influx of fresh water. The meltwater from Silfur's glacier never freezes. Silfur's water is the purest you'll ever find deep underwater, and you won't find anything close to it anywhere else. What do you think was the strangest discovery on our list? Have you ever heard of anything bizarre being pulled out of the water? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other cool videos on the screen, and we'll see you next time.